Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. Again, I do apologize for finishing chapter 55 so late. I know that usually I'm quite on top of things, but again, with Christmas and holidays, it's a little bit tougher. Again, Gamer Dad is still a working dad. That being said, hopefully you enjoy this video. It is a combination of a story walkthrough as well as 2 boss battles. What I will say is that in the final area to the final stage, which is the Jiraiya fortress, there are actually 3 areas. The main fortress, the upper floors, and finally the deck. Make sure you finish all of one location and make it to the next location before warping out. That way, you can warp back to that area and not have to retrace your steps. All the mobs at this stage are tough and they're fast. And the problem is they all have varying resistances. They are all in the 73 level, roughly. So, just in case you're wondering, I use Serene, Aldo, and Leclerc, and Mario. Just to cover all the different, weaknesses. There are horror as well, and the horror is weak to pierce and winds. So prepare accordingly before tackling those for their rare drops. Anyways, like most story videos, I'll let you watch the rest of the video in peace. If you want, you can catch those 2 boss battles, which I will be voicing the strategy on shortly. Anyways, see you soon! And thanks for watching. Okay everyone, so again, thanks for tuning in. We have made it past the first area, and we are about to encounter our first boss. At chapter 55, both the bosses are fairly difficult, but can be managed if you have the right strategy. So Karakuri looks to be an ancient samurai, except it's got multiple arms. I will say it kind of reminds me of General Grievous from the Star Wars series. Anyways, instead of lightsabers, we are going to take on katana. So the first thing you need to know is that the boss itself resets its debuffs every turn. So that means that if you land a debuff, it'll kind of remove it at the end of every round. And the problem is that you actually want to keep a power debuff on the boss at all times, because his attacks can be quite lethal. Also, the boss does have 2 HP stoppers, so you cannot finish it with 1 full AF. and it usually shows up when he talks. So the first one is at 50% life, and the second one is roughly around 10% HP remaining. Otherwise, it has a varying amount of different types of physical attacks, anywhere from quad type attacks to multiple hit AoEs, and again, pretty much all physical. So if you have any Valor chants that can help debuff power, in the case I am using Leclerc's Aiming Flood, Annabelle's Deliverance Sword would also be good. And mind you, her shield, which is the Guardian Soul, would probably be much more beneficial since that buff lasts on you for 3 turns and boosts your max HP. Whereas when you're trying to land Aiming Flood, not only do you hope that it hits, you also understand that you have to refresh it every turn. Now you saw that the boss just spoke, so we're at a different stage, and it comes out with much more powerful attacks. So at each HP stopper, the boss will have a different move set. And at one point you'll also see that he has its own AF, which is right here. So if you have the samurai team, you know, like Cyrus and so on and so forth, Azami, you can have that kind of Eastern finish with Nikkei and so on and so forth, and it does has the same graphics. So you can see they had not only a single AoE that hit everybody, but a single target right after that. So killed off one of my characters right off the bat. Certainly no slouch at this point. Having Mariel obviously helps a lot here, only because she can heal a massive amount. But with the stack 4 hits and then a medium to heavy physical AoE, it's difficult to keep mitigating the damage. And if you noticed, Leclerc didn't land her Aiming Flood debuff 100% of the time, which leads to some major problems. So again, as long as a debuff is on the boss, you probably will be able to manage. Also note that I do have an AF bar here, a 3/4 one, but I'm not using it just yet. Because as I said, there is a 10% left HP stopper, in which case I can't end it in one shot. Note that as the boss battle gets longer, you also have to find a way to rotate characters to the back. And, oh, there goes another one of my characters. And try to regenerate MP that way. You can see that with a full team of level 80s, there is still some RNG at play. But again, if you have Yuna or characters that can 100% land a debuff, or if you make use of multiple Valor chants, you'll be fine. In this case, I wasn't as efficient in doing that. And you can see I landed some more AF here, and this is the final mode. So it's getting pretty close. And again, I do apologize for the fact that I wasn't the most efficient fighter in this stage. Okay, so this is the very last mode. If you don't end it here, you're probably gonna die. I only attempted this boss once, so this is not a replay, which is why you see quite a bit of failure. If I had to plan better next time, I would probably have brought Annabelle and maybe a Lokito, for example, for his Valor chance, and maybe made more use of it. That being said, the game is pretty much over. You can see the boss only has a small sliver of HP left. So hopefully watching the rotations and knowing when to use the AF will benefit you. And you can see you get a free Grasta as well. That Grasta actually, once you power it up, will increase the damage of non-elemental attacks. So perfect for Elga or Amy if you so choose to use it on them. And I believe it's 20% additional damage. Okay, so boss 1 is done. And now we're going to take on Suzaku. I do apologize that the first part of the battle got cut out. In the very first part of the battle, you're only facing its humanoid form, and there is really nothing to worry about. He does low 100 types damage, so not even 500 damage, and it's all very, very manageable. What you need to know is that if you do burn your AF bar in the first battle, you won't have a full AF bar, a half AF bar to start for round 2. So I recommend not using your AF bar, and I also recommend using use of the rotations to generate MP in the back when the battle is almost over. That way you'll have almost a full team that has a full HP, because this battle can be quite long. So if you look at my team, you can see the vast majority of my team has pretty much maxed HP as well as MP. So the first part of round 2 is actually pretty easy. He'll do moderate to weak attacks, all of which deal basically less than 1000 damage. That being said, highly recommend bringing Mighty and or Saki AS and or Mario. The reason why is you need one, if not both, type resistance shields against fire in order to minimize or negate all damage. In my case, I also brought Annabelle, both because she can lay Holy Saber, which is an int debuff. A lot of attacks are int based, fire type. As well, she has Guardian Soul, which increases max HP as well as increases physical defense by 35%, which will negate some of the damage from the other attacks. And finally, she has Splash Sword. It's a really underutilized move because it is a single medium hit water attack, but if I can't rotate her out during an AF, at least I can use her and she'll deal some damage and continue using and maintaining the AF bar. So you can clearly see I do have a full AF bar, which I'm going to utilize. Again, with Levia, I do have Ice Pack equipped, in which case I'm trying to debuff once on 25% water resistance debuff, which I did land there. The boss does have 2 HP stoppers as well, one at 70% life left, which you can clearly see I'm not doing any additional damage, and one at 30% life left. Now, when you are not doing any damage, make sure you use your characters to cast useful skills to prevent a counterattack. So, for example, you can utilize Mighty to cast Aqua Wall once during the AF, or in the case of Cyrus, you use him to cast the Broken Sword Enku one, which boosts his power, and that lasts for a couple of turns. So at least you're primed and ready to go. So the first part is really easy. This second part is a little tougher, and it's got a 5-turn rotation. It actually starts off with a single fire AoE in the Phoenix form, and the very first time it's done, it does moderate type of damage because I do have my Aqua Wall up. But as the battle goes on, he boosts his own power and it stays, and that becomes an issue as the rotation continues. So it only starts with one fire AoE first, and then it becomes a 4-turn rotation. In the first turn, he power-ups increase, as well as starts that 6-turn timer, which you can see. And each time you hit him, the timer bar goes down a little bit. It's kind of like a separate HP bar. And when you've dealt enough damage, it kind of resets the timer so that he can't activate that super fire AoE Phoenix attack. Kind of like his own AF bar. Meanwhile, in turn 2, he does a physical AoE. Turn 3, he does another physical AoE that also causes pain status, which you can clearly see has affected a couple of my characters. And then the 4th turn is a little bit nastier. It does a non-elemental AoE that does in the between 1 to 2,000 damage. And it also debuffs both int and power on your team, reducing its effectiveness on all attacks and magic spells. So, and it will repeat back to powering up itself in a 4-turn rotation. So as the battle gets longer, you're going to have more problems. You can also see it's increased his speed as well. So Again, make sure you manage your resources. If you can use power debuffs and or int debuffs, do so for sure, either with Valor Chance or with moves. And make sure you have one or both shields up in terms of type resistance. So like I said, with Mighty, Saki, or Mario. I do find with one shield, you're probably looking at about 1,000 damage. With 2 shields, you're only looking at a few hundred or less. Also, you can see that when there's 1 turn left on that bar, you really want to knock it down. So I tried to leave the AF bar I have as long as possible and try to set up the right characters in play in order to deal as much damage as I can. Now bear in mind, there is a second HP stop at 30%, so no matter how much damage I'm doing, it will not kill Suzaku in 1 AF bar. And again, you can see he's buffing himself and talking and changing into his final moveset. So at this stage, the goal is just to survive and make sure your shields are up such that you can build enough for a half or 3/4 AF bar, and provided you have a pretty decent water DPS team, you should be able to end it. Again, you can see I'm using a budget team. Certainly no powerful Shigure or Shani, which would be both really beneficial for this fight. I remember pulling on Shani's banner. You can watch some of those summon videos back in the day, and I was quite upset that I did not get her. And I needed her for Otherlands Rattly actually, and because I did not use her, I used chant scripts instead to upgrade my Mighty from a 4 to a 5. So actually this Mighty is not a natural 5-star. I actually only pulled 2 4-star versions of him. So well worth the 5 chance, because ever since then I have not pulled another Mighty, and yet I use him in a lot of this content. Now again, you can see that AoE with the pain status is becoming much more powerful now that he has 3 stacks of power buffs on himself. And again, you can see that I'm activating AF, and I did try to cast Guardian Soul, but I will have ended the boss at this point because we are below the 30% mark and have done enough damage. And there you have it. I know that there has been some discussion on Reddit this boss is extremely difficult, and I will say that if you can handle Otherlands Rattly, Area 3 and 4 fairly easily, you won't have much of a problem. If you're finding Rattly Otherlands difficult, then I would recommend putting this boss battle on hold until you can assemble a stronger team. Hopefully, you can fish enough to get Levia, at least she's free. If you have a 4-star Mighty, you can make use of Aqua Wall, but I don't know if he's going to have the fortitude and power to last through stronger battles. And certainly try to grind for Cyrus 5-star if you don't have any other water DPS. Saki's are always there if you can get the 5 battles in the will. Anyways, there is a little bit more loose ends to be tied up. The Phantom makes a reappearance, and you're actually going to be warped into, I guess, outside of time. And you'll meet a bunch of different Phantoms, because if you watch chapter 54, the Goddess of Time staff explained why Phantoms exist, where they exist, and why they hate living races such as humans. So I'm going to stop talking and let you watch the rest of the video in peace. Again, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. Also, I do have a Patreon account for those who are interested in supporting me this way. Good luck on beating chapter 55. I really hope that if you already haven't, that this video helps you defeat Suzaku's 2 forms. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.